All right, let's jump straight into today's explainer, where we're going to unpack a genuinely incredible story about an 18-year-old aspiring inventor named Ethan. Now, on the surface, sure, it kind of looks like your classic underdog tale, but what we're actually going to do today is extract the deeply actionable life lessons hidden in his journey. We are going to look at the exact mechanics of how someone goes from having absolutely nothing to building something that impacts thousands of people. To kick things off, we really have to ask ourselves this core question: what is the real secret to success? It's something we all wrestle with, right? Is true achievement just about being born with the right resources? Is it about finding some clever shortcut? Or is it something else entirely? Keep that question in the back of your mind as we go through this, because Ethan's answer is going to fundamentally challenge how a lot of us view our own everyday setbacks.
Part 1. Dreaming big, failing hard.
So, we start with Ethan, a kid who grew up pretty poor but had this just relentless determination. Picture a tiny house in a small town. Ethan is spending his mornings outside, meticulously fixing up these broken old radios. He couldn't afford college, and because of that, his classmates constantly laughed at him. They completely mocked his ambitions. But despite all that financial struggle and the teasing, Ethan confidently shared this massive dream with his hugely supportive mom. He told her, point blank, "One day, I'll build something that changes lives." And it's exactly that raw, unfiltered ambition that really sets the stage for everything that comes next.
Of course, it wasn't exactly a smooth upward trajectory. On day 1, he's fixing broken radios. By month 1, he builds this little machine entirely out of scrap metal, and well, it explodes with this massive, loud pop. I mean, the explosion was so startling, it actually sent his funny best friend, Ben, physically diving behind a chair. Ben was literally yelling for a warning before the next rocket launch. And honestly, as the months went on, absolutely every single invention Ethan built completely failed.
And because of this relentless, kind of comical and highly visible string of exploding mistakes, the town eventually branded him with a pretty harsh nickname, the Failure Inventor. Ouch, right? It's one thing to fail in private, it is a whole other thing to carry the weight of an entire community mocking you. Most people would just pack up their scrap metal and quit right then and there. But as we're going to see, Ethan processes this label very, very differently.
Part 2. Mentors and hard choices. Because every journey to mastery eventually hits a critical turning point.
For Ethan, that defining moment arrived when he was forced to choose between the philosophies of two very different older guys. First up, we meet Professor Adams. He was this retired inventor who noticed Ethan quietly collecting broken electronics around town. But instead of mocking him like everyone else, Professor Adams actually recognized the kid's drive. He offered Ethan this profound piece of mentorship, telling him that every great inventor has a mountain of failures behind every success. He actually sat down and began teaching Ethan the disciplined process of how to patiently design, test, and improve his ideas. And this sets up the ultimate moral crossroads that Ethan faced right after. Enter Mr. Stone. He's a wealthy businessman who basically believed that money is the only thing that brings true success. Seeing Ethan struggling, Mr. Stone tried to tempt him with a seemingly easy way out. He told Ethan, "Hey, just copy someone else's invention, nobody will know." He promised this incredibly fast shortcut to wealth with zero struggle. So Ethan is standing there caught between a dishonest shortcut and the painful, patient process of genuine innovation that Professor Adams taught him. There's this brief, really tense pause. But then, Ethan just shakes his head and delivers this powerful rejection of Mr. Stone's cynicism. He says, "I'd rather fail honestly than succeed by stealing." Professor Adams smiled proudly at that, and frankly, we should too. Because that was the exact moment Ethan decided that his character was just as important as his creations. Part 3. The path to breakthrough. Because now we have to look at how Ethan takes that intense commitment to honest failure and actually translates it into a world-changing product. This grueling, years-long grind can actually be broken down into a super practical framework for mastery. It started with reading books every single night, just relentlessly absorbing knowledge, paired with practicing every single day. From there, it was all about actively fixing mistakes and extracting the lessons from each failure. It's not glamorous at all. It's not some quick movie montage where everything gets solved in 3 minutes. This was months turning into years of quiet, disciplined, repetitive work. But eventually, that exact formula yielded an incredible result. Ethan didn't just build some cool gadget. He developed a simple, low-cost water purifier that was specifically designed to help poor villages. It was absolutely brilliant. It impressed scientists, it sparked coverage across news channels, and suddenly, companies were actually competing in bidding wars to work with the former failure inventor. But, sticking to his core values, Ethan didn't sell out cheaply. He signed a fair partnership, and that meant his product fulfilled his childhood dream. It reached thousands of families and genuinely changed lives.
Part 4. Redefining true success. Now, we could totally wrap up the story right there, right? Boy works hard, invents product, gets rich. But we're about to uncover the most important lesson of all. It's not really about the invention itself, but rather what Ethan did once he actually achieved all that wealth and status.
You see, Ethan never forgot the tiny house, the broken radios, or the absolute lack of resources that made his own journey so incredibly difficult. So he took his newfound wealth and used it to build completely free science labs for children. He basically created an environment where other kids with big dreams wouldn't have to scrounge for scrap metal or get mocked just because their families couldn't afford college.
Oh, and remember Ben, his best friend who had to literally dive behind a chair to avoid that exploding scrap metal rocket? Well, Ethan made Ben the head of those brand new science labs. It was this beautiful, full-circle moment where Ben could joke, "Good thing your first invention exploded, otherwise I wouldn't have this job." It just perfectly proves that those early comical failures were quite literally the foundation of their future careers.
In the final scene of this journey, a young kid in one of these labs looks up at Ethan and asks that exact question we posed at the very beginning of the explainer. What's the secret to success? Ethan smiles warmly, looking around at all these kids happily building things together, and summarizes his entire life. Dream big, work hard, learn from failure, and never give up because of what others say.
Which brings us to our final takeaway. Too often, we treat failure like it's a stop sign, but as Ethan's story completely proves, failure is absolutely not the opposite of success. It is a fundamental ingredient of it. So I want to leave you with this question to ponder long after we're done here. When you encounter your next inevitable setback, how will you use your own mountain of failures to build something that changes lives?